Okay, 13.2, you're going to learn how to draw angles. In this direction, it's a positive angle, and if in this direction, it's a negative angle. 0 degrees is always right here. It goes 0, 90, 180, 270, and all the way back around is 360. In this direction, counterclockwise, it's positive. Clockwise, the way the clock goes, is a negative angle. It starts 0, then negative 90, then negative 180, negative 270, and all the way back around is a negative 360. Okay, for the first part of the assignment already, all I want you to do is draw the angle, and without a protractor. So remember that this is 0 degrees, and I want a positive 200, so I have to go in this direction, and I'm going past the 90 marker, and I'm going to go past the 180 marker by about 20 degrees. That is about 200 degrees. If I want to do a negative 100 degrees, again, this is still 0 degrees, but you have to start down and go a negative 90, go a little bit past the negative 90, and that's a negative 100. So the first part of the a worksheet, you just have to graph angles, and then maybe about what's 420? Well, all the way around is 360, and I went past the 360 by 60 degrees because 360 and 60 makes 420. So I'm going to go around 90, then I'm going to go around 180, now I'm going to hit 270, and then I'm going to hit 360. So I already went around 360. All I'm going to do is go around a little bit more, which is about 420. So the first part of the assignment, you're just graphing angles. What's a coterminal angle? It's two or more angles in standard position with the same terminal sides. So 60 degrees, negative 300 degrees, and 420 degrees all land in the exact same spot. So here's 60. A negative 300 just goes in this direction, a negative 90, a negative 180, a negative 270, and go a little bit past that. So that also lands where that red line is. And then 420 is going around all the way around once. I went in the wrong direction, sorry. Back that up a little bit here. You start here and you go around, so that's 360, but you have to go an extra 60 degrees, which still puts you in the same spot. So on the second part of the assignment, I want a negative and a positive, and by adding 360 degrees, or by subtracting 360 degrees, you can find coterminal angles because they have to land in the exact same spot. So, find an angle, find a positive measure, and find a negative measure that's coterminal with 130. So all you have to do is take your calculator out. Everybody got their calculator? And all you're going to do is put 130 into your calculator and add 360 to it, which is 490. Or put 130 into your calculator and subtract 360 from it, which is a negative 230. I found another positive angle and a negative angle that's coterminal to this, which means that if I graphed all three of these, they should all land in the same spot. Okay, one more of these. Put a negative 45 into your calculator, add 360 to it. 315 degrees is the positive one. Put a negative 45 into your calculator and subtract 360 from it, a negative 405 degrees. All three of these are said to be coterminal, which means they would all land in the exact same spot. The last part of the assignment, how to change from degrees into radians. If angles are measures in units based on arc length, then we use a radian. 1 radian is the measure of an angle in standard position with a terminal side that intercepts an arc with the same length as the radius of the circle. Okay, so angles can be measured 3 different ways. And in geometry, 55 degrees, 45 degrees, 192 degrees. That's what you learn in geometry. When you get into trig and calc, you're going to measure in a radian. A radian is in terms of pi. We're not going to learn this part. We'll learn that in trigonometry. But in order to go from radians to degrees or to degrees to radians, in order to go from degrees to radians, you just multiply by pi over 180. If you want to go from radians to degrees, you multiply by 180 over pi. And those are the two formulas. So, on the next page, this is exactly what I just said. Pi over 180 and 180 over pi. So, how do you convert the degree measure to a radian? So you're just going to take 30 degrees and multiply it by pi over 180. And you can put this over 1, and all you do is multiply the numerator. You get 30 pi. Divide it by, multiply the denominator, 180. 30 goes into 180 6 times, so it's pi over 6. 30 degrees is the same thing as pi over 6, and you'll need to know that for trigonometry. Let's do another one. Let's go the opposite direction. Let's go from a radian to a degrees. You go the opposite direction. You go 180 over pi instead. You multiply the numerator. What's 180 times 3? A negative 540 pi divided by 8 pi. I just multiply the denominator. The pi's would cancel each other out. So 540 divided by 8 is a negative 67.5 degrees. You know that it's 180 over pi because you want the pi's to cancel out when you want to put it into degrees. So let's do another one. Let's do a couple more, and then that's about it for the day. Pi over 6, you multiply it by 180 over pi. Multiply the numerator, you get 180 over pi. Multiply the denominator, you get 6 pi. The pi's cancel out, 6 goes into 180, 30 degrees. 30 degrees is the same thing as pi over 6, and I think we did it up here. We changed 30 degrees into pi over 6 just to show you. Let's go the other way. Pi over 3. And that's in radians, so what would this have to be? This would have to have a pi down here so that the pi's cancel out, and this would be 180. So 180 times 5 is 900 pi on the top over 3 pi on the bottom. The pi's cancel out. 900 divided by 3 is 300 degrees. 5 pi over 3 and 300 degrees are exactly the same thing. Pi over 6 and 30 degrees are exactly the same thing. Let's see, is there any other problems here? Let me just make sure before I stop here. I'm not teaching how to find the length of an arc, but I'm going to just do one more. I'm going to go the opposite direction. 135 degrees, change it into a radian, so multiply by pi over 180. Multiply the numerator, you get 135 pi over 180. 5 goes into 135 27 times. 5 goes into 180 36 times. 9 goes into there 3. 9 goes into there 4. So it's 3 pi over 4 in reduced form. 135 degrees is the same thing as 3 pi over 4. Okay, just quickly, the 3 parts. The first part of the assignment, you're just graphing in angles. How do you graph 200? How do you graph a negative 100? The next part, Coterminal angle, they want one positive and one negative, so add 360 and subtract 360. And the last part is to go from radians to degrees or degrees to radians by multiplying by pi over 180 or 180 over pi. And that's all it is.